What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So now that we're just a few weeks out from the Switch 2's launch, there are many people, of course, still scrambling looking for either a pre-order or a way to get the system on launch. Well, now we have another retailer who's officially thrown their hat in the ring here with stock that'll apparently be available as soon as midnight on release. That's right, a midnight release where you don't need to necessarily have a pre-order to get a system, but we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about an upgrade that Sony has discussed planning for next year, with some information getting out around 8K and even up to 120 FPS. We'll see there. And then Limited Run Games did discuss some of their releases for the Switch 2 a bit further, and it looks like we may have good news for collectors out there who aren't exactly excited to hear more about game key cards. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or the link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with a game that whenever I bring it up, people go, oh, I forgot that was even a thing. Well, technically, it turns out you can forget a little longer because now it's been delayed into 2026. We can see this posted up. This is by Skydance Games. Says Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra launch update. With this update, the game will now be launching in early 2026. They say taking this additional time will allow us to add more polish and make sure we give you the best possible experience and one that lives up to our vision. We have some exciting things in store and look forward to sharing more soon. So I guess they could still show more about the game, say at Summer Game Fest, since this game was apparently going to be coming out later on this year in like the fall or holiday time. This is Amy Hennig's studio, them partnering then with Marvel for this game, and I'm not really sure what to expect out of this title, to be honest. Again, this is one that people have said, oh, I forgot that was even a thing. I mean, we've had like a cinematic trailer for it, I guess, to sort of set up the characters in the story, but otherwise, again, I'm really not sure what they're going to turn up with here, so hopefully we find out more at Summer Game Fest. Otherwise, look towards the first half of 2026 for its release. Also, here's some really cool retro news as we've discussed these decompilation projects from time to time as they've popped up, with like the most popular system currently being, from what I've seen, the Nintendo 64. Well, now it appears sights have been set on the GameCube. Now, this was a video that was posted up, and this is from Matt KC Bytes, who goes over what looks like the first GameCube title to be officially decompiled. Now, it's not 100% done, but it is like 99% there. And that's for Mario Party 4. Now, when a game like this is decompiled and reverted into its own source code and stuff here, then it's able to be, say, ported over to PC, or other kind of refinements or enhancements can be made. So higher frame rate, 4K resolution, widescreen support, whole bunch of stuff. And this has been done with things like Mario 64, where like full ray tracing was added in. It's really, really cool stuff, and interesting to see things start to shift over to GameCube, because those are titles that still look really, really good. But if you could do something like a full decompilation project for some of these games, and then be able to push things even further, say, onto PC, this could be a really, really cool thing to see happen. Now, apparently, this is going on because some of the tools that allow some of this decompilation to happen have evolved a bit more. So we'll see if we hear more information around other projects that start to move into the GameCube library and see what they can come up with. Oh, and Claire Obscure Expedition 33 has really taken over online, and I see many say that it's the frontrunner at this time for their Game of the Year, despite us still just being in May. Still, though, people have asked if this is something that could find its way to Nintendo's new system. And in fact, the Sandfall CEO was even just asked about this during a call. We can see this posted up. Now, this is through a translation, but this is on MP First saying, well, at this point, considering the success of the game, it kind of changes everything. So clearly, it's too early to say, but we're kind of in a situation where, let's say there are a lot of opportunities showing up, way too many at once, and we're figuring out what we'll go for and when we won't. But yeah, it's definitely something that could be interesting. So I would be shocked if this game doesn't eventually find its way to the Switch 2. Seems like it's a good fit there for this turn-based reactive combat RPG. And I'd be curious to see how it runs there and what they're able to do with the Switch. I don't know if they're going to mess around with any of the added functionality of the system. I can't imagine what mouse mode would do, but just getting the game over there to, I mean, a whole other audience as the system grows from launch on June 5th. I think the sooner they can get it there, the better. But at this point, it just seems like they're just dealing with all the success, like suffering from success at this point. It's just a lot of stuff hitting them all at once, but it is really cool to see the success for Expedition 33 in general. And right now, for me, it is up there at like the top of the list with Game of the Year contenders already. And yes, it's maybe a little soon to declare it as Game of the Year, but it's definitely a front runner right now for 2025. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Switch 2 and the stock situation for launch day. We already know that Target apparently will have systems in store, so that's already a good destination, I feel like, for many people who aren't necessarily looking to pick the system up at midnight. Just understand, many people, I'm sure, will be out and about trying to get the system on launch day, so you'll probably still have to show up early if you're trying to get the Switch 2 in some capacity, whether it's the bundle with Mario Kart World or just the system itself on open at Target. So might be a line there, but it appears another store is indeed looking to have stock on launch, even going as far as to have their midnight release maybe open up to people who have not pre-ordered it. Now, we went over this briefly, but the website was reverted, and I wasn't 100% sure if that was something that absolutely was going to happen, but now it is official. This is posted up over on Best Buy, where they say, in addition to fulfilling pre-orders, most stores will have limited inventory of systems, games, and accessories for in-store purchase. Customers will also have the chance to receive a Nintendo collectible. Check out our full assortment below. They say a chance to get a Nintendo collectible. We'll see what that's all about there, because I am going to Best Buy, my local area, at midnight to pick the system up, along with, I'm sure, a bunch of other stuff. I guess accessories here, maybe a couple of games or something. And my plan was to do like a midnight live, or like close to midnight live stream where we unbox it and check the system out a bit, just very quickly, kind of going over it as that first time experience there with the system. It is still exciting. I mean, it's a new generation, just to get the system for the first time and give even some impressions then during the live stream. Now, in this case, with Best Buy opening their doors at midnight, it will be it's going to be kind of logistically, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare for them, I'm sure, because on one side, you will have people who have pre-ordered the system and are in line, and then other people, I guess, they'll divide out that haven't pre-ordered it, and they're just there maybe to pick up any additional stock that's available. Of course, they'll probably do the one per customer thing, or as best as they can. From what I remember back with the Wii, that was a big one. Some people would bring like family members with them, and it was one per customer, but they'd have a whole bunch of people there with them because, of course, they were trying to snap up as much inventory as possible to then resell. In this case, though, for Best Buy, as we get closer to June 5th, the release, probably that week, I would just check in to see what the deal is there for stock, because at that point, they'll know. And if it's going to depend, obviously, by your area and how much stock they get. But if it's at least a decent number of, say, 20 to 30, you'll probably be okay getting there definitely before midnight, but not like, oh, you gotta camp out overnight from the day before or something. It will still be, I'm sure, a madhouse for a midnight release with Best Buy. The accessories, though, I'm curious about as well, because I do want to get the Switch 2 Pro controller, and maybe I'll pre-order it beforehand at like GameStop or something and pick it up the next day. Wouldn't mind just grabbing it there, though, with the system at midnight. Now, the other thing we had yesterday was actually the GameCube controller, as that did go live on Nintendo's website. And I did manage to pick one up, so good news there. We'll see whenever, I guess, they get it out to me. We can check it out here in a video. But in that case, Nintendo did the one per account for their Nintendo store, and they had people kind of wait in the line, and it actually worked out all right. I think I sat there for about 15 minutes. Eventually, the website flipped over, and there it was. I was able to go ahead and just order it, and we were set and ready to go. At this time on the website, it's just sold out, and of course, I decided to look, and yes, eBay has them for almost triple the amount of it was $65 when I was going through to order, and I looked online on eBay, has them for $200 this time. And yes, some of them have sold already, the pre-order. It's just how it is, I guess, with Nintendo right now with these systems. Switch 2 systems are selling consistently on eBay for $700 or more. So it's just all over the place right now. I still think Nintendo is going to have a pretty good amount of stock, and I will say I wouldn't go looking around at the resellers currently. Maybe just plan out for launch and decide if you're going to go to maybe Target or Best Buy, or who knows, maybe even GameStop. The fact that we're seeing so much stock now apparently show up on top of the pre-orders that have already been taken does give me hope that for the most part, people out there who are looking to get one will be able to get one at retail rather than have to deal with prices that could be as much as double after release, because that's when That's when the prices really go up, when you realize it's sold out everywhere and you don't really have many other options. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft, as they have announced plans to lay off 3% apparently of their entire workforce. So this isn't necessarily just gaming, like specifically, it's just across Microsoft, which when you start realizing how many employees they have, that is a big number. And one of the reasons they, of course, talk about the smaller percentage. Anyway, we can see this post up. This is over on VGC. It says the layoffs will take place across all levels, teams, and locations. That's according to a CNBC report. Suggests that Microsoft's gaming division may be affected to some extent. According to the report, Microsoft had around 228,000 employees by the end of last June, which would mean laying off 6,840 employees. Now, of course, the employee headcount can fluctuate quite a bit from month to month, so it might not be exactly 6,840, but let's just say it's 6,000. That's a lot of people to lay off just kind of like overnight almost at this point. Now, in a statement to CNBC, a Microsoft spokesperson said that one of the objectives of the layoffs was to reduce layers of management, saying, "We continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace." Keep in mind, this will be the largest mass layoff of Microsoft since January 2023, so basically 2 years ago. I feel like we've heard Microsoft with layoffs a lot in the last few years now, and that reminded me, it's like, wow, it really was 2 years ago when they laid off like 10,000 employees. Now we're hearing them potentially laying off 6,000 or so employees, and they can't necessarily say it's a money-related thing. Oh, we're trying to just like cut costs. They just reported tens of billions of dollars of profit. Kind of difficult to go, what are we going to do? We need to cut costs or we're in trouble. It's like, nah, you really don't have to. So they're kind of pitching this as the idea of just becoming more efficient overall by laying off more like 6,000 or so people, which is that, again, a lot of people to have their livelihoods completely turned upside down at that point. And I guess we'll wait and see in terms of just gaming related stuff. We'll see if we hear about maybe studios cutting down in terms of headcount or whatnot. But yeah, I guess over the coming days or even weeks, we'll see what is announced exactly coming out of Microsoft. This appears to be their plans to do it. And well, over the next few weeks, they'll start to carry it out. Next up, let's talk about Sony's upgrade that they've already announced for next year for PSSR. Now that's their PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, where they look to use AI upscaling techniques to take an image that is just lower resolution and move it up to 4K and try to make it look as clean as possible. They are working with AMD, and FSR4 apparently is a big collaboration with them working to implement it into PSSR. And now we have some more information coming out from Moore's Law is Dead, who, if you remember before, especially when discussion around the PS5 Pro was spiking, got in a bit of trouble with Sony because they just seem to have slides and stuff from, I guess, developer backend stuff. And we knew it was correct because I believe they were getting hit by Sony with copyright stuff. It was a whole thing. So I'm inclined to believe that they do have information around this just based on their previous track record and events. So let's take a look. This is posted up. This is by Tech Radar. It says, as for what this PSSR 2 upgrade in 2026 will bring, the update will feature, this is from Moore's Law is Dead claims, Sony is aiming to offer 4K at 120 FPS and 8K at 60 FPS, as well as support for wider resolutions, including 1440p and 1080p locked at 120 FPS. Additionally, the update could also have the capability of upscaling from lower resolutions, including 720p, 540p, and 360p, which would allow developers to target higher performance. You know, I am curious. You hear about those lower resolutions, and apparently when the target resolution or the source resolution got below like 870p or 868p, something like that, the image was really degraded. But I hear those lower resolution numbers. You know what I start thinking about immediately? The handheld apparently they have in development. I'm like, I wonder if this PSSR 2 would eventually be moved over and also utilized on their new handheld. It's just something to think about there. But as for the PS5 Pro, they've already discussed the idea of upgrading and implementing stuff that's been developed in FSR4 into PSSR, and maybe they name it something new, maybe they don't, they just keep calling it PSSR, and when the PS6 comes out, it's like PSSR 2.0 or something there. but this has been their plan. I do still think with the PS6, it'll be more powerful than the PS5, but I think it's going to look like really more and more like a lateral move. There won't be the big, oh, it's a mechanical hard drive to an SSD. It'll be more RAM. Sure, it'll be a stronger GPU, better CPU, but it's not going to be a massive leap over what we have now, especially when we are becoming, looking around, more and more price driven to expect a $700 or $800, some talking about $1,000 system. I feel like Sony is looking more and more into the idea of PSSR being the big saving grace, we'll say, for the next gen, and making that big push to where, yeah, 4K 120 is possible. Because it's not technically 4K, we're upscaling images to get it there, or 8K 60. The jury's still out on 8K, but like, you get the idea, make it more premium. I like the idea of the higher frame rate. I don't necessarily know if people will be able to tell the difference as much in the long run when it comes to using PSSR versus native, because I still think in general with mainstream, they have a hard enough time telling between things that are upscaled, or apparently people have a hard time between 30 and 60, which I don't really get because it's quite obvious most of the times. But still, I'll be curious to see how this continues to improve into 2026, as Mark Cerny seems like full speed ahead on the idea of their PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. And hey, if they can pull it off and it works and it's 4K 120, I'll at least be on board for the improved performance with image quality that is at least, we'll say, good enough. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about those pesky game key cards that have seemed to infiltrate the Switch 2's launch and library, like half of it at this time. Definitely from third parties. Seems to be the strategy at this time anyway. Rather than go for the 64 gigabyte card, you save a lot of money and go for the game key and let the end user download basically the whole game. Well, in this case, Limited Run Games did actually comment on this and explained in one case why that Hydra Special Edition was a game key. So we can see this is posted up. Now, this is over on Nintendo Life. And speaking to a Limited Run marketing representative at PAX East 2025, Boss Rush Network was told the following: any Limited Run numbered release for the Switch 2 will contain the full game on cartridge, aka a true physical release. Any game released as a partnership and therefore not a numbered release will be published as a game keycard, leaving the decision to the third party. So according to them, the reason Raidu was a game keycard is because Sega opted for it. So in that case, what are they going to do? It's the publisher's decision there. So, okay, you want to do a game key, that's how we'll do it. But in this case, it seems like with Limited Run, they will opt for the 64 gigabyte cartridge for their own numbered Switch 2 releases. Here's the thing though, how much is that going to cost? Because Limited Run will at times already kind of test the heights of the market, we'll say, with some of their special editions and their collaborations. So I do wonder if this is a situation where for just a standard Switch 2 cartridge, 64 gigabyte cartridge, it's all there, they do touch $80, maybe more. That's what's been brought up. Some people have said they would pay more money if it was all there on the cartridge. They would prefer to buy the 64 gigabyte cartridge for more rather than save money and just deal with a game key card that you have to download when you first pop it into the system. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with Limited Run, as at least in their mind, it makes sense to go the more preservation route where you get everything on the cartridge and they opt for the 64 gigabyte, which, we'll see how the prices reflect that. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, when do you think the next big 3D Mario game will release? Okay, 2026 is the leading candidate here, 68%. 17% think 2020. Wow, is 2025? It's either 2025 or 2028 or later for 8%. Wouldn't it be crazy, though, if Nintendo showed up, we'll say in June, right? The launch is coming up here. And they did announce a new 3D Mario game, and it was coming out at the end of this year. That would be pretty cool. I'm trying to figure out what their holiday game is. Is it Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? Because I'm thinking, okay, Mario Kart, the following month then you have Donkey Kong. I feel like it would make more sense to have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond release in August. That game got announced, guys. Think about it. In 2017, it was a couple of months after the Switch first came out, and we're talking about it coming out now after the Switch 2 releases. It's been a wild ride for that game. I'd prefer that come out even before the holiday season started. Let's get that game out there to fans so they can finally pick it up, and I'm ready to play the game, but it does make you wonder what their holiday title would be. A 3D Mario would make sense, but if the Odyssey team was also working on Donkey Kong, would they then also want to release their 3D Mario game a few months later, really? Say in October? Hey, crazier things have happened, but that would be an interesting 1-2 punch for them with Donkey Kong and then a 3D Mario game, and I wouldn't really be opposed to it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Johnny, who says, can we just get a proper mouse to work? I see you mean with the Switch 2, with the sideways Joy-Con 2 for the mouse controls. Well, the Switch currently does at least support a mouse plugin, so you can plug a mouse in, even a keyboard. Certain games, such as, there's a list that I'll leave linked down below if you want to take a look for yourself, that people have made on Reddit, and they have been updating it. So Doom or Doom 2, you can use a mouse and keyboard on the Switch. Yeah, you can use a mouse and keyboard on, Game Builder Garage. So that makes sense there. It would kind of make that a bit easier. Quake 2, same deal there, mouse and keyboard. Turok. So there are already games where you can use the mouse and keyboard on the Switch. I assume the Switch 2 will be able to detect the mouse plugin, and hey, maybe that is a way that you can navigate the eShop or just like the OS itself with the mouse cursor there. So either way, people will be testing it out, I'm sure, day one when it releases. And hey, I have a mouse that I can plug in here, so if I remember, we can even test it out that night. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe want to hear more about the Switch 2 game key card situation that's ongoing after we got more information from a certain leak, I'll leave that right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.